Those of you attending EBPowerCon will have noticed our sessions tend to be rather forward-looking. Considering some of the topics we've covered, electrified transport, augmented video, job site robotics, sustainability, smart cities, the future is truly exciting for both electrical professionals already in the trade and for our up-and-comers. Which begs the question, what are we doing to prepare our apprentices and electricians and tomorrow's electrical contractors for this future? Joining us at EB PowerCon are Susan Boorman, Director of Education and Training at IBEW Local 353, Bob Ritzmann, an electrician by trade and founder of Alltrade Industrial Contractors, and Graeme Aitken, Executive Director of Electrical Contractors Association of Ontario. These distinguished guests, representing the perspectives of trainer, electrical contractor, and employer association, will help us find answers. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Why don't we turn to Susan first as training director with Local 353? Susan, what are we doing to prepare our apprentices to become those electricians of the future?
Well, we're supporting a very robust apprenticeship program with the Greater Electrical Contractors Association of Toronto, Local 353, and the Electrical Training Alliance. So I'm not directly involved with the actual recruitment and assessing of apprentices. Where we come into play is supporting the more senior apprentices when it comes to doing their supplemental training hours that they require to have when they graduate out of their apprenticeship. So we support about 1,800 apprentices during their apprenticeship process, going through all of this. And our training programs are all voluntary training programs, so nothing is mandatory other than the prescribed hours that the Alliance says the apprentices have to complete. So we have a full roster of programs that we offer. Most of the courses are open to all of the apprentices and journey persons, but there are some that have prerequisites which will limit some apprentices from taking the courses. So these can lean anywhere from hands-on practical trade training like conduit bending and fabrication, all the way up to the more sophisticated technologies, doing Raspberry Pi, controls, fire alarm, and that sort of thing.
Oh, now I have to ask you because I've not heard this before. What is Raspberry Pi?
It's not the kind that you bake in the oven. It's basically, it has a lot to do with the IT world. And you'll have to forgive me, but I could come back to that later when I find it in my other book. I wasn't
Very,
expecting to get that question.
well, see, if you hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have asked. But it's so there are robust training programs, and now I would like to move to you, Bob, because you will be the recipient of these apprentices and up and coming electricians in a firm like yours. And so, looking at the way Alltrade Industrial takes on apprentices and continues their education, what kinds of things are you guys doing to prepare them to become those skilled journey persons of the future?
Yes. So first of all, we really appreciate the programs that the IBEW has put together. At Alltrade Industrial, we have 5 different trades, not only electrical, but I'm going to say probably the electrical comes out, well trained compared to some of the other ones. And we really appreciate that because when they come out, it's not so much that, they need to know everything that they need to know to be an electrician. That is gained throughout sometimes it's a 5-year long apprenticeship, and there's a lot of good information that they learn with that. But when they come out and they have that basic safety training in place already, and some of these courses that Susan was talking about, it is really important to us. The risk of new workers is always there when somebody hasn't done something before. And when they can come out with some of the basic safety training to the contractors, that is really important. You know, we've got several major projects on the go in Ontario right now. In Toronto, we're building a number of the stations on the Eglinton LRT. And those two projects that we've got on the go there, I think we've had about 18 different apprentices on those projects. So there's lots of opportunity to put newer and new workers in place.
Very good. And you had mentioned that you have five trades under Alltrade, and that the name makes perfect sense. I should have done a little more reading on the About Us page. So now tell me, before I leave you, Bob, and move over to Graeme. And so you had mentioned that the candidates, the apprentices that you have coming in, especially on the electrical side, they pretty well hit the ground running. They already have safety training. What sort of things does Alltrade do as an employer to sort of further their experience and their knowledge in the trade on the job site?
One of the real beauties of the apprenticeship is that they get to work with journeymen out there, and we try to make sure that they have a full scope of the work that we do. We're in several sectors of the electrical trade itself, and so we move them around from one journeyman to another, and they're really mentors for them, and they're able to pick up a lot of the tricks of the trade, and it's those kinds of things you can't just learn in a classroom. I go back to my apprenticeship. I was very fortunate to be able to work with some great journeymen, and I remember to this day some of those little tricks of how to thread the conduit and how to hang the pipe and pull the cables that they taught me, and back then I thought those were old guys. Now I don't think they were that old anymore, I suppose. But some of those things, they stay with you forever.
Very good. And now Graeme has been waiting patiently in the wings. Now, Graeme, as Executive Director for Electrical Contractors Association of Ontario, what sort of things is the association up to in terms of creating that fertile ground for apprentices, for our electricians of the future? How is it helping its members like Alltrade, to get that talent and bring it up to where we want to have it?
I think, Anthony, thank you for having me on. I think that a point that both Susan raised and another point that Bob raised is at the heart of what we're trying to do at ECAO. So Susan talked about Raspberry Pi, and I see she's still scrambling to find a better description of it. But that is an example of how quickly the industry changes, particularly the electrical industry. And so the need for that electrician of the future keeps moving. And so one of the things we do at ECAO is try to stay as far in advance of those things as we can. It's difficult to be certain. I mentioned to you previously when we spoke that in many respects, the National Electrical Contractors Association in the US is leaps and bounds ahead of many of the Canadian organizations. And so we look to them a lot. But a point that Bob brought up should not go lost. This is absolutely critical in my view. And Bob mentioned that he appreciates all the programs the IBEW offers. And to us, partnership is key. We can't go off and do this on our own. Neither can the IBEW. We need to work together with our labor groups to ensure that we're producing the proper type of journey persons moving into the future. And not just moving into the future as we see it now, Anthony, but trying to anticipate what that looks like even a few more years out. So we're ensuring for those apprentice candidates and then the apprentices when they come in, that we're going to give them the largest and the most broad opportunities that we can to give them an opportunity to succeed in the future. I think where we pick up some of the slack, so to speak, at ECAO is in that sort of soft skill area, I mentioned to you before, we've got our Future Leaders Advisory Council, and they're intermingling with the IBEW's Next Gen. And so they're developing their relationships and those soft skills together as industry partners. We do a labor relations course for our journey persons and our young supervisors. And some of them aren't, quite frankly, tradespeople, but they represent members who supervise those tradespeople. And so we do those programs, again, to help with those soft skills. You can probably tell with the conversations that you and I have had in the past, Anthony, that it's all about partnership for us. And so the more that we can develop that partnership in our younger member representatives, and the IBEW is doing the same, the better off we're going to be. We've also done other soft skill things like communications. That electrician of the future is going, in my view, going to be dealing more so with clients than they have in the past. And Bob would probably be able to tell you that his company, when he first started, maybe whatever number of years at the outset, he did all of that interaction with the customers, and now he's leaving that to those young folks that have come up through his organization. So those communication skills. We also do some of those other soft skills like leadership development, leadership identification. And I mentioned to you previously what we're looking at the moment. And I must thank those that were ahead of me at ECAO, including Susan, is we're trying to find a mentorship program that works across the industry. Bob probably has a very good mentorship program at Alltrade. However, if that apprentice leaves Alltrade and goes to, let's say, Guild, we want to be certain that that mentorship program continues. And I think that one of the exciting things, and Susan was inferring this when she said she's had an opportunity to do a lot more of the infrastructure work so that they can move ahead with training, is that electronic, that virtual, the Zoom, whatever you want to call it, training. We can offer more of that to more people now. And I think that that's tremendous benefit to us, only if we take advantage of it. Sorry, I went far too long.
That's all right. I can't hold it against you, Graeme, because you and me, we both like to talk, and I enjoy listening. But now, speaking on the virtual training, let me turn to you, Susan. What sort of prospects, benefits do you see with the ability to take some learning? I mean, you can't put job site learning online, but some of the other development skills, if they were offered online. Do you see that really holding water?
Definitely. We like to use the terminology distant learning because it has a different context to online. And COVID really did create some challenges for us over the last 12 months, but we've been able to turn that into a positive and took some of the courses that we would typically deliver in class to a distant learning format. And we've just produced the final draft of our spring calendar, and we're able to offer 12 courses online to our members. So this is very exciting for us because we're able to reach more members. We're also able to then offer more classes of a different nature in the brick and mortar of our training facilities. So we're making better use of, the monies that is coming through to our organization from our members. So the investment in training is, to put it in very simple terms, we're getting more bang for our buck. We are looking at virtual reality training. Right now we have a transform and distribution course that we're developing. So we've partnered with a virtual reality company. They've actually come in and worked with one of our instructors and his contractor to actually do all of the photographic work behind in a transform and distribution setting. So actually a live installation, and then the students will actually able to enter virtually into that platform, and they can identify hazards. They can actually learn how to work on switch gears and all of those good things that are inside a very dangerous environment. Something else that we're very excited about right now is we're able to also launch a virtual reality program for safety training. So this is actually for entrance into the apprenticeship, or we could do it for school talks and things like that, where there's an actual job site setting, and there's different modules that can be launched so that a student can enter in and they can identify hazards such as slips, trips, and falls. Another module deals with electrocution. So those are a couple of other exciting things that we're doing. And we've also been working very closely with Graeme and his staff with their migration of the certifier program to the distant learning format. And when we got hit with COVID, we were very excited that we were able to actually migrate classes that were already in progress in class to finish out in their distant learning format. And now extending from that, our instructors are just completing train the trainer, so they'll all be able to deliver the respective levels of that program, distant learning. And we're going to take it one step further, and we're actually looking at virtual reality lab training so that we can complement that as well. It's not to take away from any of our in-class training, but it's to supplement what we already have. So we're very excited about that.
Very, very technological. You're not resting on your laurels. That's great to hear. Now, Bob, one of the things that Graeme had mentioned is the idea of a mentorship program. And in earlier conversations with Graeme, in talking about, let's say an electrician is ready to hang his own shingle and start his own electrical contracting firm, and there may be a lack of mentorship to someone who wishes to do that. Now, as an electrical contractor, do you feel that a mentorship program would have helped you? Do you think it would help other up and comers?
Yes. So first of all, picking up on a couple things that both Graeme and Susan spoke about. Susan, I like this virtual learning that you're doing because it is what we're actually using in the field today. And I'll give you an example. And Graeme, you mentioned, the electrician of the future is probably not the electrician of the past. We're integrating systems now that we've never had to do before. Just a little example, we just finished a street lighting project. And when I went out to see the guys working on the tools, installing these new LED fixtures, they had iPads, and every time that they would change a street light or the photocell, they would have to log it in real-time tracking on the iPads, and this was shared with the customer. So Bob had nothing to do with it. It was the actual apprentice and the journeyman. In fact, it was the apprentice usually, because they understood how to use this iPad better than the journeyman. And so when you're talking about mentorship, sometimes it goes both ways. Even the apprentice actually mentors the journeyman, because they're way more up on the up and coming tools of the trade that are those soft skills and computer skills as well. When it comes to mentorship on business and that kind of thing, absolutely. Graeme runs some great programs that have helped me in the past. I've taken estimating programs, I've taken project management courses through the years, and those are the basic building blocks that I needed to learn in order to be able to start our own business. We're excited. This is 10 years now this year that we started our own, and seeing the opportunity that other young people have, as they build their careers. To me, apprenticeship is definitely, it hasn't just been a job, it's been my career. In fact, it's my life. Now, those of you that know me well, work is not my life. I work to live. I really, I'm excited. We have a large family, and it's provided that opportunity for me to be able to give them the life that that I hope I can give them, and that they now are taking off and working on their own careers. I started out as electrical apprentice, and it gave me the opportunity along the way to you know, to get to this point. I'm not saying that I'm finished. I'm certainly not finished learning, because there are new things for me every day, as well as technology changes. But I'm excited where the opportunity has led.
Well, I am glad to hear you're not walking away, especially during this panel, because I don't know how it would reflect on the rest of us if you just decided to leave. But I'm looking at the clock, and I still have two more discussion points that I would like to get to. And that is, you know, we sort of talked about and framed the discussion on how to prepare our apprentices and electricians for the future. And now I'd like to dive a little bit into some of the challenges that we face from our various viewpoints, and then sort of conclude with the opportunities. And I'd like to start with challenges first and then end with opportunities more on a positive note. Well, one of the things that may or may not be impacting the electrical profession as much as others, but everything I read points to a skilled trades shortage and a problem attracting youth to the trades. I'm not sure, and you guys will help me with this, but is electrical suffering a shortage? Does it have a publicity image problem? Maybe this time I'll turn to Graeme first.
There is not a shortage of electrical apprentices and journey persons in the province of Ontario, Anthony. In fact, that's the case in most of the country. There are a couple of areas. And when I say there's not a shortage, sure, the GTA may have a shortage for a month, but Hamilton has extra, or Kitchener has extra. The construction industry has always been somewhat of a nomadic lifestyle. So moving from one area to another, particularly when you're talking about an hour or an hour and a half drive, is nothing out of the ordinary. And yes, we do get lumped in with some of those trades that are facing shortages. And I think that one of the reasons we're not facing those shortages is we took that challenge of a potential shortage and we capitalized on that to market our trade better to folks. And I think that the challenges can always become opportunities. And one of those are the opportunities in the advancement of our trade, in the widening of our trade with the technological advances. We now have electric motor vehicles, charging stations. We have energy storage. We have microgrids. We have integration. Susan mentioned certifier. We're doing more and more alarm work. And as you expand those opportunities, I think what it does is diminish that challenge for us. And I don't know for certain, but I would venture to suggest that the vast majority of the joint apprenticeship councils across the province of Ontario have waiting lists. However, having said that, I still think we have to do more work in attracting underrepresented people to our trade. That's where, from ECAO's perspective, our diversity and inclusion committee can be of assistance. Our FLAC group can be of assistance. That's the future leaders. And from the IBEW's perspective, that's where they can work with the next gen. And I know the first district has a diversion and inclusion program of sorts. And from the contractor level, that's quite frankly a matter, and I know Bob does this, that's a matter of the owners of these companies and the senior representatives of these companies saying to their employees, where's your daughter? Why isn't she applying? Or going into those communities in which they work and accessing a program such as Hammerheads to get those underrepresented groups in. I don't know, did I answer the question? I felt I went on a tangent, Anthony. I apologize.
No, not too much, not too much. But that it is a discussion. It's not a yes no polygraph test or anything. But you mentioned Bob last, so let me turn to Bob next. When it comes to challenges, it sounds like uptake for the electrical trade is still alive and well. Graeme had pointed to, and I fully agree. To me, it's probably one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting, skilled trades, just with all the opportunity that's out there. But Graeme still sees a possible challenge in getting more diversity into that workforce. Do you see diversity as something that still needs to be worked on, or perhaps you in your electrical contractor shoes have other challenges that you see that need addressing?
Yeah, certainly there, maybe I'll go back to what made me decide to be an apprentice and the experience I had. And this was early 80s, so you guys can figure out how old I am already. My experience was that when I talked to my guidance counselors and my teachers about becoming an electrician, and I wanted to be an electrician probably from when I was 14 or 15 on, they said, Bob, why would you do that? You've got excellent grades. You're an honor student, and I'm not looking to brag here, but they said, what, become an engineer. Like, why would you want to be an electrician? And I really wanted to be an electrician. And so that's the path that I chose. And I'm going to tell you, I don't regret it for a minute. Many of my good friends became engineers, and it probably took them decades to catch up to the wages that I was making. And it gave me opportunity to not only stay with working on the tools, but to continue on with my career path that I've been able to come down. The challenge that I think that we have out there is that we still need to get our guidance counselors, our schools to promote the electrical trade. This is an awesome opportunity. And I'm not the only one that's had this opportunity. Graeme, you started as an apprentice too, and you've had a very distinguished career, and there is good opportunity, and absolutely that opportunity is there for women, it's for different minorities, all groups and walks of people, and we see great opportunity out there for everyone. And what I would really like to encourage is we want the smartest people to come and be electricians. Things will happen in our trades, that especially in the electrical, I'll say there's a lot of new technology that's happening that, we need to have people that understand this new technology. Graeme, you mentioned a few things, smart cities, electric cars, the solar battery storage. At Alltrade, we're doing all of those. And, we're trying to be on that cutting edge of what the technology is out there. And, I need people that can grasp that information and understand it and, take it to a whole new level yet.
Anthony, if I might jump in here with just two quick points. First of all, Bob talked about the guidance counselors and such saying, why do you want to do that? I will say I am aware that Bob also had a mentor before he entered the trade that said, kid, keep up your marks and then you can become an electrician. And so I would consider, his name was David Radke, and I would actually consider him very far advanced and looking so much more into the future than so many of his contemporaries back in 1960, was it, Bob? No, I'm kidding, in the 80s. The other thing is that Bob mentioned is we want the smartest people. And what we're working with the IBEW on, and I know Susan's doing a lot of this work with GTECA, is smart doesn't necessarily mean school marks.
Oh, absolutely.
And what we're trying to do is figure out a way in which we can tap into the smart people without it becoming simply a matter of, oh, there's the marks and she falls lower than she does. And so that's a difficult, and that's also a cultural issue as well as a gender issue, as I'm sure you're aware. And I think GTECA and IBEW Local 353 are doing some really good work on that. I know that Bob at ECACO and Local 804 of the IBEW have also done some work on that. So that's something that we need to do to attract those groups, is to ensure that we're not excluding them as a result of a rigid adherence to criteria that don't lend themselves to diversity.
No, I am glad that Bob mentioned that we want the smartest people, because I think there is still a perception out there with any construction trade that, well, if you don't do well in your maths, or you don't do well in this, and you don't go on to be a brain surgeon, oh, that's all right, you can just go into construction. And it's a very poor misconception, because smarts are involved. So I'm glad you brought that up, Bob. And actually, I have one more question for Bob. You had mentioned that you had a bunch of contemporaries who did go off to become engineers. So does that mean that you're probably the guy who now looks at their drawings and says, "Oh, that's not going to work. That's not going to work"?
I'm going to reserve comment on that one.
So
No,
Anthony,
they've also done very well in their careers. But yeah, there is a difference of the way we look at things when we become the hands-on tradespeople to figure out how it's done. There is only one way to do it, and that's the way the electrician would do it. So do it right,
Exactly. Now, Susan, I was going to turn to you, but you had a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to kind of round out some of what Graeme and Bob have been talking about, people coming into the trades. I've been around probably as long as Bob has, and maybe a bit longer, when I started in this industry. And having worked with the Alliance, formerly the Joint Apprenticeship Council, for 22 years, going out and doing a lot of career talks and school visits and things like that, the biggest misnomer out there is the fact that apprenticeship is a hidden secret. It's always befuddled me as to how people don't understand that apprenticeship is an earn while you learn mechanism, that it is for those smart people. And when we say smart people, not just book smart, but they've got the hand skills so that they can put it all together. So as we say, we're not looking for those people that have the high academic marks. We're looking for a well-rounded individual. And as Graeme alluded to, we do not, and I've never seen any experiences where we've had a shortage of applicants coming into the program. The thumb rule is usually 3 interviews for every 1 applicant. And I've seen the number as high as 1,000 applications for 125 spaces in Toronto. So, the electrician trade is one of the more popular trades. I think it's because it's more diverse in that it covers so many different technologies and trade designations. In education, I'm working with the industrial, commercial, institutional programs, telecommunications, the power line technicians. So, sky's the limit. So it's very popular, but parents don't understand the apprenticeship concept. And that's where it leads to educating the guidance counselors, being heavily involved over the years with the skills competition. 28,000 people over 3 days come in, and when you're in the information booth, you've got all these guidance counselors swarming you because they're eager for this information. And then the biggest thing is oh, I didn't know that they got paid in their apprenticeship. So it's the cultural thing, it's an education thing. I get very passionate about this too, because it's just over 38 years, it's frustrating me that this message still isn't getting out there. But that is one of the challenges. And if I can speak to one of my challenges in education, is something that Graeme talked about a little bit earlier, is keeping pace with the evolving changes within the industry and the technologies. And our partnerships are the industry folks. So like Bob, the Contractor, and ECAO, and our Toronto Association, and our other industry partners that provide us with tools and equipment and technology, and then working with our subject matter experts to create these programs. So my challenge at the 30,000 foot level is to keep up with that. And I'm really glad that Graeme mentioned energy storage and microgrid, because that is in my strategic plan, which I'm into the 3rd year of my 3-year plan, and I'm just redoing it, and that's still going to be part of it. So hopefully I'll have something in the next 2 to 3 years. Very robust program for that as well.
Well, and it speaks to what Bob said a little earlier, now that he's decided to stay with us and not walk away just yet, that he continues to learn. And so, to me, that speaks to a real vibrant trade, a real vibrant industry where you haven't just learned everything and now it's old hat. There's always new, exciting stuff coming. So I'm glad you brought that up. Now, looking at the time, I just want to quickly wrap up. We touched a little bit on opportunities. So really what I would like to do is close with opportunities in the electrical profession, opportunities for people considering getting into the trade, and also on a personal level, some of the things that excite you that you see occurring and happening out there. And let me turn to you first, Bob. So what excites you as an electrical contractor? Some of the things you're working on, maybe some of the things you hope to be working on.
Yeah, when we started 10 years ago, we really looked at the new technology that was coming in, the new areas of the electrical field. We got into, building solar farms, and that was a great starter for us. It really trained a lot of our apprentices. We were able to actually take in, over 100 new apprentices into that program when it was going strong in Ontario. Those same apprentices today, some of them are my key foremen out there after 10 years. And, I was talking about the project we have on the LRT, the Crosslinks Eglinton project. Those 2 stations, my general foreman, my key guy on site is in his early 30s in both stations. And both of those gentlemen started with us on the solar farms. The nice thing with electrical apprenticeship is there is a ton of opportunity for those that want to build their careers, and you can take it wherever. And the one thing that's really changed, and I think in a good way, from when I was going through some of those early years is, you're an apprentice, and just because you're a good apprentice, you should become a good journeyman. Well, if you're a good journeyman, probably a good foreman, and before you know it, you're a general foreman or a superintendent on site, and you've had no training other than your apprenticeship. And I think that's where, ECAO and the IBEW both have done a great job to prepare people for those transitions as we go through them. The skill sets are different than just the things that you learn in trade school. Those were the good base, so the opportunity is there. When I look back, I'm thankful for the many people that gave me opportunity to go from being that apprentice to the journeyman to the foreman, that gave me an opportunity, that called me one day and say, hey, I'd like you to be partners with me to start this business. And then 10 years ago, I said, hey, I'm going to do this on my own. And we started Alltrade. It's exciting for me right now to see the opportunity that our young people have. And when I see them start as an apprentice and, 10 years later now, they're running my main and major projects, that to me is what is exciting me today, is to see that this young gentleman, was able to take an opportunity and run with it. And, I think they've got 30, 40 people reporting to them now at this point. Some of my other managers within Alltrade are, apprentices that came through. And like I said, it's not only electrical, and we're focusing on the electrical here. But, any apprenticeship path is awesome. And different people will gravitate towards different trades, and that's okay. But electrically, to me, is an opportunity that gives probably a quicker advancement because of the technology than some of the other trades. And there's a path there for people to grow and have awesome careers. And it's exciting to me right now when I can just, take that opportunity that somebody gave me and I give it to someone new, and I see what they do with it, and they run with it, and they do it 10 times better than me at the end of the day, because the technology that's available right now, the path is much quicker forward than perhaps that we had in our time.
Interesting. I'll be honest. I did not expect that answer. I'm pleasantly surprised that it's the people and the young people going through that excites you the most. What a fantastic perspective. Sticking with the young people, Susan, I'll turn to you next, and I'll save Graeme for the sort of wrap up. But Susan, Bob had just talked about the people with enthusiasm and moving forward. There's also, help from ECAO, IBEW with some of these programs to help them move up. Now, from your perspective on the training side, can you sniff out these future leaders as they come through? What do these future leaders, what sort of qualities do they express?
Let me put it in the context of when I'm looking for new instructors. It's a similar type process that you would go through even with the apprenticeship is you look for good communication skills. Are they able to work independently and in a team environment? Being able to be creative and self-starting, and also being not shy about putting forward their own opinions. And in all of our careers, I think I can speak for all three of us, that we've come across very many opinionated people, but we always respect each other's opinions, but they don't necessarily have to be the right one all the time. But what I really get excited about in this industry, and I've been in this industry now for 38 years, is the fact that apprenticeship is the starting of a lifelong learning process. So, and this is what Bob talked about, is that people coming up the ranks and moving forward. The many people that I've seen and I've worked with, apprentices, I've had the great pleasure of taking 2 apprentices through their apprenticeship, and I've worked for both of them, 2 business managers. We just recently had a change with our business managers, and both of them I had the fortunate pleasure of being able to work with them as apprentices. So that's one facet of the industry that people can get into is the management side, whether it be on the contracting or the labor side. Many apprentices that I have taken through have gone off into teaching careers, whether it's academically or within the industry, the Electrical Safety Authority. There's so many different possibilities that people can get into. And one of the things that I like to get excited about is the creativity side for myself, and being able to provide programs for our members and for the benefit of the whole industry. And something that we're working on right now is a rail electrification program. And this alludes to the Crosslinks Metrolinks project that Bob is working on. And we are actually in our Oshawa Training Center, we are creating a low-level and high-level training span so that our ICI electricians and line workers can actually learn how to do these installations so that they will be job ready for those contractors that are bidding on that work. And that all lends itself to the green energy as well, which is the government mandates as well. So that's one of the really exciting things that I'm working on right now.
Just opportunities abound everywhere. Graeme, I want to give you the last word in terms of looking at the opportunities for our up and coming apprentices and journey persons, and also some of the things that excite you with where things are going in the future.
Thank you, Anthony. We've Bob and Susan have dealt with much of this already, but I just want to emphasize. So the online education, the VR education, the mentorship, that stuff is really, truly exciting because we're building a community here. And that mentorship becomes innate in a community. Bob, Bob sort of glossed over it, but he doesn't get excited about all those young people doing that work unless he's mentoring them, right? There's a mentorship that's going on there. What we want to do is ensure that people recognize this and maybe turn their mind to it a little more. As far as advancements in the industry itself, microgrids, energy storage, electric vehicle charging, including, that doesn't get mentioned very much, the high voltage for commercial vehicles, communications, the electrical contractor as integrator. Those are all really exciting things for our contractors. And when the contractors become engaged and go after this new and exciting work, it does the same for all of their employees, and I think particularly apprentices. The advancements in technology are too many to mention. I'm just going to go with 4. And you can contemplate how many areas of our trade, of our business, of the construction industry itself they impact. Apps, tablets, phones, and drones. You've covered off health and safety. You've covered off remote locations. You've covered off technological advancements in the building of a program. Bob talked about the tablet giving real-time updates on the progress of a job. So apps, tablets, phones, and drones, just those 4 alone are taking our industry miles and miles ahead. And the last 2 things I want to deal with is, I talked to you, Anthony, previously after ECAO had finished up their strategic planning. And I am absolutely thrilled that part of our strategic plan is to look for diversity of thought. That diversity of thought is going to expand the markets for us even greater. And it's going to deal with how do we attract those people we haven't been attracting in the past. But most importantly, absolutely without doubt, is collaboration. And whether that collaboration is between ECAO and its local ECAs, or it's Susan at Local 353 with GTECA, or it's Bob with any of our groups, what we're doing is, as I said earlier, building a community. We have gone in a very short time, and I mean no disrespect whatsoever to my predecessors, predators, my goodness. That would be, never mind, I'll reserve that one. What we've gone from is confrontation to cooperation, and now we're jumping into collaboration. And you can accomplish a few things, some by purpose, some by accident, when you're cooperating. But when you're truly collaborating, which is starting to be the modus operandi between ECAO, its local associations, its contractors, and the IBEW and its local unions, when you are truly collaborating, that's when we will accomplish phenomenal things, not just great things, phenomenal things. That's what I'm most excited about, Anthony, is the bringing together of the unionized electrical contracting industry.
Excellent. And we got in just under the wire. Graeme.
I'm watching the clock.
Oh, well, I need to be mindful of these things, but we did quite well there. To all of you, Graeme, Bob, and Susan. Bob, great meeting you. Susan, good seeing you again. Graeme, yeah. I speak with regularly. I hope we continue to do so. So thanks all of you for coming together and joining me in this discussion to see kind of where we're at and where we see things going and all the excitement that's wrapped up into that. So thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure, Anthony, and good luck with the conference.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you again.